The space beyond the Orion Arm was quiet. Too quiet for Lieutenant Jack Morrison's liking. The scout vessel Horizon Seeker drifted through the darkness, its engines humming softly as it mapped the uncharted region. Jack stared at his navigation. Console, eyebrows furrowed. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," he said, turning to look at Captain Olivia Wright. "About half a light year away. It doesn't match any known stellar formations." Captain Wright stepped closer to his station. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen more of space than most. "Show me." Jack pulled up the long-range scan on the main view screen. What they saw made little sense. A perfect ring structure surrounding an otherwise unremarkable star. "That's artificial," Captain Wright said, stating the obvious. "Why isn't it on any of our charts?" Communications Officer Peter Mills swiveled in his chair. "No records of any colony or outpost in this sector, Captain. According to Galactic Council data, this entire region is uninhabited." Dr. Samantha Hayes, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her station. Her eyes showed the same curiosity Jack felt. "We should investigate," she said quietly. Captain Wright hesitated. "Protocol says we should report unusual findings and wait for instructions." Jack couldn't help himself. "With all due respect, Captain, by the time Earth Command decides what to do, we could have basic scans completed. If there's something dangerous, we'll keep our distance." The captain studied him with a slight smile. "Your curiosity is going to get us in trouble one day, Morrison. Or make us heroes," he replied. 20 minutes later, the Horizon Seeker changed course toward the mysterious ring dot. As they approached, the true scale of the structure became clear. It wasn't just a ring. It was a massive habitat, stretching millions of kilometers around the star. Its surface gleamed with metal and crystal in the starlight. "Life signs?" Captain Wright asked. Security Officer Nicole Blackwood checked her. "Readings. Millions of them, Captain. But they single quotes read ... strange. Very faint. Almost like they're in hibernation." Dr. Hayes leaned forward. "They are in hibernation. Those readings match stasis patterns. Someone put an entire civilization in suspended animation." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. The question is, who and why? Captain Wright made her decision. "Prepare a shuttle. Morrison, Hayes, Blackwood, you're with me. Chief Engineer Rodriguez, keep the ship at ready status." The shuttle approached one section of the ring that showed signs of an entry port. As they drew closer, lights activated automatically along the docking bay, as if welcoming them after a long absence. "The power systems are still functioning," Jack noted as they landed, "but barely. Some sections are completely dark." They stepped out into the docking bay wearing their environmental suits. Those sensors showed the atmosphere was breathable. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's standard. "Look at this," Dr. Hayes said, approaching a control panel. The writing was unfamiliar, but the display showed unmistakable images of stasis pods. Thousands upon thousands of them arranged in layers throughout the ring. "I've never seen this species in any xenobiology database," she continued, studying. The biological READOUTS. Nicole pointed down a corridor where soft emergency lighting still functioned. "Captain, I'm reading a control center in that direction." They moved carefully through the station. The design was elegant but practical, with curved corridors and doorways slightly taller than human standard. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. The control center was a large circular room with view screens covering the walls. Most were dark, but a few still displayed information in the unknown language. "Hayes, see what you can learn." "Morrison, help her." Captain Wright ordered. Jack and Samantha worked together, trying to make sense of the alien technology. It was advanced but intuitive. After 30 minutes, Jack managed to access what appeared to be a log system. "I think I've found something," he said. The translation matrix is having trouble, but these appear to be final records. A video appeared. On the main screen, a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes spoke directly to the camera. Though the words were unintelligible, the emotion in those eyes was universal: desperation. "The translation is coming through now," Dr. Hayes said quietly. ... Final message to any who find us. We are the Nilarians. Our home system has been destroyed by the expanding Vortex Nebula. The Galactic Council granted us temporary sanctuary, but refused permanent relocation. We lacked the resources to build a new home world. The alien's voice became more strained. This preservation ring was our last hope. All remaining Nilarians, to 4.3 million souls, now rest in stasis. The Council promised to monitor and eventually relocate us when political conditions improved. Our power reserves will sustain stasis for 400 standard years. We place our fate in the hands of a more compassionate future. The message ended. The room was silent. Check the timestamp on that recording, Captain Wright said quietly. Jack did. 393 years ago, Captain Dr. Hayes was already checking other systems. The power grid is failing. Nearly 20% of the pods have already lost power. Her voice cracked slightly. Those people are gone. And more will follow unless something is done, Nicole added. Jack pulled up a different screen. Captain, I'm detecting an approaching vessel. Actually, several vessels. Still days away, but they're on an intercept course with the ring. Can you identify them? Jack worked the controls. They're registered to the Galactic Council. Designated AS, a salvage fleet. Salvage? Dr. Hayes looked horrified. These people are still alive. Jack found more information. According to this, the Council officially declared the Nilarian Preservation Project economically unfeasible 50 years after it began. They marked it as abandoned and removed it from all official star charts. They just left them to die, Nicole said, her voice flat with disbelief. Captain Wright's face hardened. And now they're coming to strip this place for parts, with no regard for the survivors. We need to report this to Earth Command, Jack said. We will, Captain Wright agreed. But first, I want to know why a species would be abandoned like this. There has to be more to the story. Dr. Hayes had moved to another console. Captain, I think I found something. Medical records. She studied the data, her eyes widening. The Nilarians have an unusual biological trait. Their nervous systems can form temporary connections with others of their kind when in close proximity, a mild telepathic field. That would make other species uncomfortable, Nicole observed. Uncomfortable enough to leave millions to die? Jack asked. History is full of examples of fear leading to cruelty, Captain Wright said quietly. She looked around at her crew. We have a decision to make. Protocol says we report this and wait for orders. Jack looked at the failing power indicators, each one representing thousands of lives. Those people don't have time for protocol, Captain. No, she agreed. They don't. She activated her communicator. Rodriguez, I need you to bring the Horizon Seeker alongside the ring. We're going to need the ship's power systems. What are we doing, Captain? Nicole asked. Captain Wright looked at the alien face frozen on the screen. What no one else would do. We're going to save them. The message from Earth Command arrived exactly as Captain Wright expected. The words on the screen were cold and distant, much like the stars outside the Horizon Seeker's viewports. Maintain observation only. Do not interfere until diplomatic. Channels assess the situation. Return to patrol route in 48 hours. Captain Wright read the message twice before looking up at her officers gathered in the ship's conference room. No one spoke for several moments. The salvage fleet will be here in 5 days, Jack Morrison finally said. If we leave in 48 hours as ordered, the Nilarians won't stand a chance. Dr. Hayes nodded. The power systems are failing faster than we initially thought. Without intervention, thousands more will die before the Council ships even arrive. Captain Wright stood up and walked to the viewport. The massive ring structure glittered in the light of its star. Millions of lives hung in the balance, forgotten by everyone except the small crew of an Earth vessel that happened to find them. "I want options," she said without turning around. Chief Engineer Alan Rodriguez cleared his throat. "I've been analyzing their power grid. It's elegant engineering, just badly degraded. If we connect our fusion reactor to their distribution network, we could stabilize the critical sections. That would violate direct orders," Security Officer Nicole Blackwood pointed out, though her tone suggested she wasn't necessarily opposed to the idea. Captain Wright turned to face her crew. "I'm going to ask each of you directly. If we decide to help these people against orders, it could end all our careers. I won't force anyone to participate." She looked at each officer in turn. Every single one nodded their agreement. "Then let's get to work," she said. "Rodriguez, start preparing the power transfer. Morrison, help him. Blackwood, I need countermeasures to hide this station from the approaching fleet. Hayes, see if you can find a way to safely revive one of the Nilarians. We need to communicate with them." The crew moved with purpose. Within hours, Rodriguez and Morrison had rigged power cables from the Horizon Seeker to the ring's main distribution hub. The ship's fusion reactor hummed louder as it fed energy into the failing alien power grid. "It's working," Rodriguez said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We've stabilized about 30% of the critical systems. With some adjustments, we might be able to push that to 50. In another section of the ring, Dr. Hayes had identified a stasis pod containing what appeared to be a Nilarian scientist or doctor. Based on the symbols on the pod, she carefully studied the revival sequence. "The process is similar to our own stasis technology, just more advanced," she told Captain Wright. "I'm ready to attempt revival if you give the word." The captain nodded. "Do it," the pod hummed as it cycled through the revival process. Fluids drained, temperature increased, and vital support systems activated. After 20 minutes, the clear cover slid open with a soft hiss. The Nilarian inside was tall and slender, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its large eyes opened slowly, revealing pupils that shifted color from deep purple to bright gold. When it saw the humans standing nearby, it recoiled in fear. "We're not going to hurt you," Dr. Hayes said gently, knowing the alien couldn't understand her words, but might respond to her tone. She kept her hands visible and moved slowly. Captain Wright stepped forward. "I am Captain Olivia Wright of the Earth vessel Horizon Seeker. We found your people abandoned and are trying to help." The Nilarian blinked rapidly. It touched its throat and made a series of musical sounds that the ship's translator couldn't process. Dr. Hayes handed the alien a portable translator unit. The Nilarian studied it for a moment, then pressed it to its neck. "I am Valix, research coordinator, a synthetic." Voice emerged from the device. How long have we been in stasis?" 393 years, Captain Wright answered honestly. Valix's color paled further. "The power reserves were meant to last 400 years. Are the others... Many are still alive," Dr. Hayes assured quickly. "Some pods have failed, but we're working to stabilize the systems." "The Galactic Council? Did they finally send help?" Valix asked, hope evident in those shifting eyes. The humans exchanged uncomfortable glances. "No," Captain Wright said. "It seems the Council abandoned your people. They removed the station from all star charts. A Council salvage fleet is currently on its way here." Valix made a sound that needed no translation, pure grief. "There is something you should know, Valix. said after recovering. We were not abandoned because of the nebula disaster. That was a fabrication. Jack Morrison, who had just entered the room, stepped closer. What do you mean? Our home still exists. We were quarantined and then hidden away because we discovered corruption within the council, Valix explained. Several dominant council species were exploiting less advanced worlds. When we gathered evidence and threatened to expose them, they declared our telepathic abilities a galactic threat. Nicole frowned. They imprisoned your entire species? Those who would not submit to treatment that would destroy our telepathic glands, Valix confirmed. We were told the stasis was temporary until a fair hearing could be arranged. Lieutenant Commander Frank Diaz, the ship's communications officer, entered the room with a data tablet. Captain, I've been decrypting their database. You need to. See this. The tablet showed medical images and reports. Dr. Hayes gasped as she reviewed them. They were harvesting telepathic tissue from Nilarians, she said in horror, using it for some kind of cognitive enhancement drug for the black market. That explains why the Council wants to eliminate all evidence, Captain Wright said grimly. They're not coming to salvage resources. They're coming to hide their crimes. A warning alarm sounded throughout the ship. Frank checked his communications panel. Captain, the salvage fleet has increased speed. They'll be here in less than 2 days, not 5. They must have detected our power signature, Nicole said. Captain Wright looked at Valix, then at her crew. Rodriguez, how much more time do you need to complete the power stabilization? At least 30 hours, Captain. And we have less than 48 before the Council fleet arrives. Jack noted. Captain Wright straightened her uniform. Then we better work fast and prepare for a confrontation. The Horizon Seeker is about to make a stand against 6 Council warships. We're outnumbered and outgunned, Nicole pointed out. Yes, the captain agreed, but we have something they don't. What's that? Jack asked. Captain Wright smiled grimly. The moral high ground. And sometimes, Lieutenant Morrison, that's the most powerful weapon of all. The 6 Council ships emerged from light speed with military precision. They were massive compared to the Horizon Seeker, their hulls dark and sleek. Each one bristled with weapons designed to destroy vessels much larger than the human scout. Ship. On the bridge of the Horizon Seeker, Captain Wright watched the tactical display with a calm she didn't entirely feel. They're hailing us, Frank Diaz reported from his communication station. Put them through, Captain Wright ordered, straightening her uniform. The view screen flickered, revealing a reptilian face with golden scales and vertical pupils. This is Commander Dresder of the Galactic Council Salvage Authority. You are interfering with authorized salvage operations. Remove your vessel immediately, or face destruction. Captain Wright met the alien's gaze without flinching. This is Captain Olivia Wright of the Earth vessel Horizon Seeker. We are providing humanitarian aid to the Nilarian survivors aboard this station. There are over 3 million living beings here who were abandoned against their will. Dresder's eyes narrowed. There are no survivors. This is a derelict installation containing dangerous technology. Your scan data must be flawed. We have revived several Nilarians already, Captain. Wright replied. They have shared some very interesting information about why they were really placed in stasis. A flicker of something alarm perhaps crossed the commander's face. Your presence here is a violation of Council space. You have 30 minutes to disconnect from the ring and depart. The transmission cut off. 30 minutes, Jack Morrison said from his station. Not much time. Enough time for what we need to do, Captain Wright said. She turned to Frank. Are you ready? Frank nodded. All evidence compiled and ready to broadcast on all frequencies. Every inhabited system within 50 light years will receive it. Do it, she ordered. Frank pressed a series of commands. Transmitting now. Across council space, thousands of communication systems suddenly received the same data package. Detailed records of the Nilarian persecution, medical files showing the harvesting of telepathic tissue, and testimony from the revived Nilarians. The truth that had been hidden for nearly 4 centuries was now impossible to ignore back on Earth. Admiral Lara Simmons was awakened by an urgent call. When she saw the data coming from the Horizon Seeker, she immediately contacted the Interstellar, Coalition Earth's alternative diplomatic body created to counterbalance Council influence. Emergency session, she told her aide, and send a message to the 7th Fleet. Tell them to prepare for immediate deployment. In space, the 30-minute deadline was approaching quickly. They're charging weapons, Nicole reported from the tactical station. Dr. Hayes and Valix entered the bridge. Several more Nilarians had been safely revived, including members of their leadership caste. Captain, Valix said, my people wish to help defend the station. Several of our leaders possess stronger telepathic abilities. What can they do against warships? Jack asked. We cannot affect machinery, Valix admitted, but we can reach the minds operating them. Not to control, that is forbidden by our deepest laws, but to share truth, to show them what was done to us. Captain Wright considered this. It's worth trying, but I won't risk your safety. You should return to the protected area of the station. Valix shook his head. We have hidden in safety for too long. We will stand with you. The Nilarians gathered in a circle on the observation deck, joining hands. Their skin began to glow with a soft blue light. On the council ships, crew members suddenly stopped what they were doing. Images and feelings washed over them. The terror of being persecuted, the heartbreak of leaving their world, the betrayal by those they trusted. Not an attack, but a sharing of experience so profound it could not be ignored. Incoming transmission from the lead council ship, Frank announced, surprised. The face of a different alien appeared on screen. This one was not reptilian but humanoid, with purple skin. This is Sub-Commander Vril. Commander Dresder has been relieved of duty. We request a temporary ceasefire to investigate these allegations. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Morrison had been monitoring communications from Earth. Captain, message from Admiral Simmons. The Interstellar Coalition has called an emergency session. Earth is sending the 7th Fleet to our position. They'll be here in 3 days. Tell the sub-commander we accept his ceasefire, Captain Wright said, and inform him that Earth forces are on their way. Over the next 24 hours, the situation transformed dramatically. 3 of the council ships declared they would stand down, unwilling to participate in what was clearly a cover-up. The other 3, still loyal to Dresder, retreated to a safe distance, but remained threatening. Dr. Hayes and Valix continued working to revive the Nilarian leadership. Each awakened Nilarian shared their memories with selected human representatives through a carefully controlled meld. The evidence is overwhelming, Frank said after experiencing one such meld. They weren't just exploiting Nilarians. According to their records, at least a dozen other species were declared unfit for council membership and essentially disappeared. The question is, what happened to those other species? Nicole wondered. Lieutenant Morrison had been working with Valix to access more of the Nilarian database. His face was grim when he approached the captain. We found coordinates for the Nilarian homeworld, he said. According to these records, it wasn't destroyed. It was quarantined under council control. Could there still be Nilarians there? Captain Wright asked. Possibly, Morrison replied. But we'd need to break through the quarantine to find out. That would be a direct challenge to council authority, Nicole pointed out. I think we're past that point, Captain Wright said dryly. News of the Horizon Seeker's stand spread quickly throughout known space. The Interstellar Coalition session was broadcast on all channels as species after species expressed outrage at the Council's actions. Across the galaxy, support for Earth's protection of the Nilarians grew. Multiple non-Council worlds declared they would send aid. The Council, facing unprecedented exposure, began to splinter as several member species withdrew rather than be associated with the scandal. Admiral Simmons appeared on the view screen of the horizon. Seeker. Captain Wright, your actions have changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Earth is now the diplomatic center of a growing coalition of worlds united against the Council's abuses. What are our orders, Admiral? Captain Wright asked. Protect the Nilarians at all costs, Simmons replied, and prepare for the next phase. We're sending a stealth craft for Lieutenant Morrison. His mission: infiltrate the quarantine around the Nilarian homeworld and discover if there are more survivors to rescue. Jack Morrison felt a mix of excitement and fear. Breaking through a Council quarantine was extremely dangerous, possibly suicidal. But the thought of more forgotten people waiting for rescue made the risk worthwhile. As the human fleet approached and more Nilarians awakened, a new hope spread throughout the station. What had begun as a simple act of disobedience had ignited something much larger, a fundamental shift in how species across the galaxy viewed each other and their responsibilities to one another. The forgotten had been remembered, and humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming the protectors of those abandoned by others. The stealth craft Whisper glided silently through space, its advanced cloaking technology making it nearly invisible to sensors. Inside, Lieutenant Jack Morrison checked the navigation systems one more time. The Nilarian homeworld was just ahead, hidden behind a web of Council monitoring satellites. Approaching the quarantine zone, Jack said to his small crew. Everyone remember the plan. We slip through the detection grid, gather evidence, and get out. No confrontation unless absolutely necessary. Beside him sat Valix, who had insisted on joining the mission despite the danger. 2 other humans completed the team. Specialist Eric Daniels, an expert in surveillance systems, and Dr. Samantha Hayes, whose medical knowledge would be crucial if they found survivors. I never thought I would see home again, Valix said quietly, staring at the blue-green planet growing larger in the view screen. The Whisper moved carefully between the automated satellites. Each one was designed to detect and destroy any vessel attempting to break the quarantine. Thanks to Eric's expertise, they managed to fool the security systems long enough to enter the planet's atmosphere. I'm picking up energy signatures from the northern continent, Eric reported. Massive power consumption, consistent with large-scale facilities. That's where we'll start, Jack decided. They landed the Whisper in a dense forest several miles from the energy source. The air was breathable, but had a strange sweetness to it. The plant life was similar to Earth's, but with colors that seemed more vibrant blues and purples instead of greens. It looks untouched, Dr. Hayes observed as they moved through the forest. If the Council has been here for centuries, why not develop the whole planet? Because they want to keep it hidden, Valix said. The fewer people who know about this place, the better. After an hour of careful hiking, they reached a ridge overlooking a massive complex. The facility stretched for miles, surrounded by high walls and guard towers. Inside were dozens of interconnected buildings with strange machinery and transport vehicles moving between them. Eric used his enhanced binoculars to scan the area. Those aren't military barracks, he said with growing horror. They're breeding facilities. Jack took the binoculars and looked for himself. He saw rows of structures that reminded him of livestock pens on Earth, except these contained people Nilarians of all ages, moving about in controlled environments. They're farming your people, he said to Valix, whose skin had paled to an almost white color. For their telepathic glands, Dr. Hayes whispered. They're breeding Nilarians like animals. Valix trembled with a mixture of rage and grief. We need to get closer. I need to connect with them. They waited until nightfall before approaching the perimeter. Eric disabled a section of the security sensors, allowing them to slip through undetected. Inside, they moved from shadow to shadow, documenting everything with their recording devices. What they found grew worse with each building they explored. Laboratories where Nalarians were subjected to experiments designed to enhance their telepathic abilities. Medical facilities where the enhanced glands were surgically removed. Cold storage units filled with preserved tissue. This isn't just exploitation, Dr. Hayes said as she reviewed the medical logs on a facility computer. They're trying to isolate and replicate the telepathic trait. They want to create a controlled version they can use without the ethical complications of an entire sentient species. We have enough evidence, Jack said. We need to get this back to Earth. Not yet, Valix insisted. I need to reach the central containment area. My people must know they haven't been forgotten. The central area housed thousands of Nolarians in what appeared to be a small city, the one surrounded by invisible barriers and constant monitoring. The inhabitants moved about with a listless quality, as if their spirits had been broken. Long ago, from a hidden position, Valix closed his eyes and extended his mind. His skin began to glow with that soft blue light. Around the compound, Nolarians stopped what they were doing. Some looked up, others placed hands on their hearts. A ripple of awareness spread through the population. What's happening? Eric whispered. He's telling them about the rescue, Dr. Hayes explained. He's showing them that millions of their people have been found and are being awakened. We're getting them hope, Jack realized. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as security forces began to mobilize. They've detected the telepathic surge, Eric said urgently. We need to move now. They ran back toward their hidden ship, pursued by Council security forces. Weapons fire exploded around them as they ducked and weaved through the complex. We're not going to make it to the ship, Jack realized as they became pinned down behind. A storage container. Just then, something unexpected happened. The Nolarians in the compound began to move in unison, creating distractions and blocking the security forces. It wasn't a violent uprising. They simply stood in the way, linked hands, or accidentally knocked over equipment. They're passive. Resistance created the opening Jack's team needed. They're helping us, Valix said, amazed. After generations of captivity, they still resist. The team made it back to the Whisper and launched into the night sky. Council patrol ships immediately gave chase, firing weapons that rocked the small craft. Hang on, Jack shouted as he pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The Whisper shot upward, dancing between energy blasts as they reached the upper atmosphere. Just as it seemed they might escape, a direct hit damaged their cloaking system. More Council ships converged on their position. We're surrounded, Eric reported grimly. Jack was about to attempt a desperate maneuver when the space around them lit up with weapons, fire not aimed at them, but at the Council ships. 3 large vessels appeared, their hulls bearing the insignia of Earth's 7th Fleet. Lieutenant Morrison, this is Captain Ben Lawson of the Guardian. We've got you covered. Make your jump to light speed when ready. Once safely aboard the Earth Fleet's flagship, Jack delivered their evidence to Fleet Commander Gregory Bennett. The commander's face grew darker with each image and video. This ends today, Bennett said when the presentation was complete. He turned to his communications. Officer, contact all Coalition allies. Operation Sanctuary begins now. Within hours, 27 ships, military vessels, medical frigates, and repurposed civilian transports converged near the Nolarian homeworld. It was the largest humanitarian mission in Earth's spacefaring history. As the fleet prepared for the liberation of the Nolarian homeworld, Jack found Valix on the observation deck, looking down at his planet. For centuries, my people believed no one would ever come for us, Malik said. We thought we were truly forgotten. Not anymore, Jack replied. And after today, no one will ever forget the Nilarians again. 5 years passed since the day humanity discovered the forgotten Nilarians. The once abandoned ring station, now bustled with activity, transformed into a thriving space colony where both humans and Nilarians lived and worked together. But it was just one of many changes that had reshaped the galaxy. Jack Morrison stood at the viewport of the newly commissioned Starship Remembrance. His lieutenant's uniform had been replaced by the captain's insignia, a promotion earned through his actions during Operation Sanctuary. The mission to free the Nilarians had changed everything, not just for one species, but for galactic politics as a whole. Thinking deep thoughts, Captain? Asked a familiar voice. Jack turned to see Valix approaching. The Nilarian's blue skin glowed with health, so different from the pale, frightened being Jack had first met in that stasis pod. Just remembering how it all began, Jack replied. Hard to believe it's been 5 years. For my people, it is but a moment compared to our centuries of sleep, Valix said. Yet in that short time, you humans have helped us accomplish what once seemed impossible. Together, they looked out at the restored Nilarian homeworld below. The planet's surface now shone with the lights of rebuilt cities. Where breeding facilities once stood, parks and memorials now reminded everyone of what had been overcome. The last transport from the ring station arrives today, Jack said. After 5 years of gradual awakening and relocation, all the survivors will finally be home. The liberation of the Nilarian homeworld had not been without struggle. Council loyalists had fought fiercely to maintain their secret operation. But faced with the combined might of Earth's fleet and its new allies, they eventually retreated. The revelation of their crimes had shattered the Council's authority beyond repair. Admiral Wright is giving a speech at the ceremony, Jack mentioned. Olivia Wright had received a well-deserved promotion after her bold stand aboard the Horizon Seeker. I look forward to hearing it, Malik said. She gave us back our future when she disobeyed her orders to save us. On the planet below, thousands gathered in the central plaza of the new capital city named Horizon. The name honored the small scout ship that had changed the course of history. Humans and Nilarians stood side by side as Admiral Wright took the stage. 5 years ago, we discovered a people the galaxy had chosen to forget, she began. Today, we celebrate not just their return home, but a new understanding between all sentient beings. Dr. Samantha Hayes watched from the side of the stage. After years of working with the Nilarians, she now headed the Xenocultural Preservation Institute, an organization dedicated to protecting the unique cultures of all species. Beside her stood a group of children, both human and Nilarian, who attended school together in the new city. The Sentient Rights Coalition now includes 27 worlds. Admiral Wright continued, united by the principle that no species should ever be abandoned or exploited. Together, we have already located 3 more forgotten peoples who suffered similar fates. This was perhaps the most profound change. The Galactic Council had been reformed under pressure, with corrupt officials facing justice in newly established courts. In its place, the Sentient Rights Coalition had emerged as a new power, founded on ethical principles rather than economic interests. After the ceremony, Jack and Valix joined Dr. Hayes, Admiral Wright, and other key figures who had played roles in the Nilarian rescue for a private gathering. The new neural interface technology is working better than expected, Dr. Hayes reported. Several humans have successfully experienced the Nilarian consciousness sharing. It's revolutionizing our understanding of telepathic communication. What had once been feared about the Nilarians, their ability to share thoughts and emotions, had become a celebrated form of art and communication. Humans were the first non-Nilarians capable of participating through the neural interface. Technology developed through cooperation between the species. And the Council? Jack asked Admiral Wright. Still resisting change in some quarters, she replied. But with each new species we find and protect, their old way of thinking loses more support. The discovery of the other forgotten species had followed a similar pattern to the Nalarians. Each had possessed some trait or ability that the dominant Council species had found threatening. Each had been hidden away, their existence erased from official records. The remembrance launches tomorrow, Jack said. We'll be exploring beyond the old Council maps, specifically looking for signs of other abandoned peoples. The ship was unique in the fleet crewed by both humans and members of all 4 rescued species. Its mission was not just exploration, for its own sake, but with the explicit purpose of finding and protecting those that others had chosen to forget. You carry a great responsibility, Admiral Wright told him, but I can think of no one better suited to the task. Later that evening, Jack visited a special memorial on the outskirts of Horizon City. Simple lights floated in a pool of water, one for each Nalarian who had not survived the long wait in stasis or the years of exploitation on their homeworld. There were far too many lights. Valix joined him in silence for several minutes before. Speaking, my ancestors had a saying, "To be forgotten is worse than death." For centuries, we experienced that truth. But your people remembered us when no one else would. We only found you by accident, Jack admitted. Perhaps, Alex said. Or perhaps there are no accidents in a universe this vast. Either way, what matters is what you chose to do once you found us. As night fell completely, families gathered around the memorial, humans and Nalarians together, some with the other rescued species as well. Children played while adults shared stories. The fear and distrust that had once defined relations between species was being replaced by something new. Understanding. The next morning, the remembrance departed on its mission. On the bridge, Captain Jack Morrison looked at his diverse crew. Humans worked alongside beings that, just a few years earlier, had been considered too different, too dangerous, or simply not worth saving. Course laid in, Captain, his navigator reported. Jack nodded. Take us beyond the charts. There are still people out there waiting to be found. As the ship accelerated to light speed, its name glowed against the darkness of space, a promise to all sentient beings that no matter how thoroughly they had been erased from memory, humanity would not rest until they were remembered again.